So tell me about Adaptly.
Sure. Adaptly is a media buying platform for primarily media systems that are autonomous from the rest of the digital media ecosystem. And what I mean by that is the platforms that our technology buys media across do not conform to the standards of display advertising. They are very independent. They have technology at their core. They don't follow the standardized media formats that most other websites follow, and typically are building advertising experiences that are native, if you will, to the consumer experience. And so these autonomous platforms are systems where consumers and brands alike are both producers and consumers of content, and both consumers and brands have the ability to invent and create and interact. The most common of these platforms, of course, are the social networks, and so Adaptly has technology integrations with Facebook and Twitter and Kik, which is a mobile messaging application, and media buying relationships with many other of these large, quote-unquote, so-called social networks. But we're not limiting our technology strategy simply to the social platforms, because there are many other platforms that are emerging that have similar characteristics, where, again, they're very independent. They don't conform to the media standards and the formats of the general industry. There are no marketplaces or ad exchanges where their media inventory can be bought and sold. And this class of autonomous platforms is emerging so quickly and becoming so powerful and so important to marketers that I would argue that the days of commodity media, which is where advertisers have been forced to buy media across highly standardized and interdependent media systems and media websites, I would argue that the days of commodity media are coming to an end, and that this new way of publishing and creating experiences online and advertising online through these autonomous platforms is really the future. And so there's this whole wave of new platforms that are emerging on sort of the backs of the Facebooks and the Twitters of the world, that are very independent in their technology vision. They don't outsource technology, they build it in-house. They're very technically adept. They're very innovative, right? They're very fast to create and develop new technologies. And again, they're independent. They're building their own systems for delivering content and delivering advertising. Another common characteristic is these platforms know their audience. They have typically some form of identity about their users, right? Because these are logged in platforms. People are logging in when they come to the website. So these platforms know quite a bit about their audience. They know generally who they are. They know when they're interacting with their content, on what devices. And so, of course, this gives them the ability to tailor very personalized content experiences to them. But it also, of course, enables extremely targeted advertising and the most effective advertising possible, right? When they've got the ability to deliver advertising based on your identity. And I would say the third characteristic of these platforms is that they are reaching very large scale. They've amassed significant audiences, hundreds of millions of unique users typically, and of course over 1 billion now in the case of someone like a Facebook. And so they are increasingly important to marketers. The challenge, of course, which is inherent to this class of autonomous platforms, is that the very fragmentation, right, the very lack of standardization across all of these different platforms both in terms of the consumer experience and the advertising experience, creates complexity for advertisers, right? There is no general marketplace for buying this advertising, and if you want to buy advertising on these platforms, the formats are all very different, the ad standards are unique, different pricing models, different metrics very frequently, and so the challenge for a marketer is, how do you buy at the audience level, and how do you run campaigns based off of general marketing objectives and simplify the complexity across potentially many of these platforms. And we believe that it's technology's role to solve for this problem. We believe that technology is responsible for generalizing and essentially creating an abstraction across the top of this ecosystem of autonomous platforms, so that marketers don't have to think about the nuances and the intricacies, and the sort of lack of standardization does not have to daunt them, but rather they can just think about who their audience is and what their marketing objective is. And so that's what Adaptly does. We focus on essentially removing the barriers that these platforms create, that the fragmentation creates, and eliminating the silos that these autonomous platforms live within. And we develop technology to simplify the extremely complicated process of buying media across these platforms.
Does Adaptly use programmatic?
So Adaptly's media buying platform is a programmatic media buying platform with direct integrations into platforms like Facebook and Twitter. The difference between the type of programmatic media buying that Adaptly does versus what a lot of folks are thinking about as programmatic in the ad exchange world is that we are not bidding on impressions on a real-time basis necessarily. There is real-time media delivery and optimization happening, but our programmatic buying is at the most fundamental level, which is literally just that we are planning an audience, we're reserving that audience in advance, and then we're allowing technology to essentially deliver advertising to that audience. So in the most basic sense of programmatic, which is machines talking to themselves, deciding what advertisement should be delivered to which audiences, making a lot of those decisions dynamically, and then delivering those advertisements to those audiences on a machine basis. That's the flavor of programmatic that Adaptly is